people go to, shall we say, bomb the Ukraine, if you know what I'm saying.
Hey, don't
And
tell my business.
that's where you were, because John Bird said AJ's downstairs. It's like there's nothing downstairs. He's down there blowing it up. I know exactly what he's doing. So I'm just calling you out right now. Everything good? You know,
Too
there's no.
blessed to be the press, brother.
Me too. Whenever I get a nice good one like that right before the show, I feel lighter, like a racehorse. And I know you're ready to go today. As AJ gets settled in, gets his headphones on, gets things going. All right, we got a big show today and things to do and plenty of phone calls. We're gonna have a good time. I guess you'd call it Jawbone Eve. No other radio station in the country has ever said that phrase. The night before Jawbone, tomorrow afternoon, we will, of course, be over at the Iron City doing our thing. So y'all get on over there and we're going to have a good time. Still got tickets available. If you want to get in, let's go. Going to be a party. Folks starting to reach out to me today, telling me that they're going to be there. Can't wait. So, again, we'll be there live in the afternoon. May have a few surprise interviews as well during the course of that as we approach the election. We'll let you know about that tomorrow. Still trying to pull some of that together. All right. I think the thing I want to start with today, other than the leftover stuff from yesterday, of course, Trump is in the bigger headlines today than this story, I guess, are Trump's visit to China apparently is going swimmingly. Huge business deals being announced between the two nations. We're letting them buy chips. They're going to buy some giant airplanes, all this kind of stuff. Big ticket deals. Trump's got all those CEOs with him. So it's a big business trip. Now, you can't trust the Chinese, so who knows what's legit about it. But the markets are digging it today, despite the fact that oil is still right at $100 a barrel. The Dow set a record today. Hasn't closed yet, but for a little while today, somewhere around 11 o'clock, it went above record territory. And the S&P's been doing it. I think the NASDAQ's in the same boat. So all these big exchanges are feeling, I suppose, optimistic enough to keep the markets where they are. We'll let you know where it settles and talk more about that trip here in just a little while. It's been pretty wild to look at. China is just putting, as my grandfather would say, they are putting on the dog. I don't even know what that means, but my whole family said it growing up all the time. All right, now let's do this thing down in Mobile. I thought this was fake news because the first source when I saw this was not an Alabama source. It was a source somewhere out there in the on the social media sphere in that sort of quasi news environment. And where, you've got these, I guess, people that post all the time, always repeating stories. You never know if this stuff's accurate. You got to go trace it down. So I went and traced it down. And sure enough, this is an alarming story, and there's not a lot of detail on it. And I'm sure we'll find out more later. But someone found a diver down in South Alabama at a dam that was part of a reservoir for Mobile's drinking water. It's been described as Mobile's sole source of drinking water. I don't think that's correct, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. But routinely, I grew up near the West Point Dam over it's in Georgia, but it's right close to the Alabama state line. I sort of grew up on the state line, and so we spent our whole life crisscrossing the dam, swimming in the lakes around the dam. And a lot of y'all up at Smith Lake and all that understands when there's a dam in town, everybody kind of is aware of it. There are alarm systems in case something were to go wrong. And one of the things they do, and I used to watch them go do this when I was a kid, is there are divers that will routinely dive down and inspect the dam. Well, apparently a diver went down to inspect this dam. AJ, how many times can I say dam and not actually be saying the word dam here on the show? They found a damn bomb. So anyway, the diver found an unusual device, and it's being described as a grenade-type IED, and it was down at the Converse Reservoir Dam. So they had to call in all kind of officials. They called in the Gulf Coast Regional Maritime Response Unit. Yep, they have one of those down there because they're on the coast. They had a render safe team, which is trained in this stuff and to remove IEDs. The ALEA sent their bomb techs down there too, and they got the thing out of the water. Were able to detonate it away from the structure itself, and that's just a stunning story. So I can't think other than intent why there would be an IED at the bottom of a dam. Now, there's this possibility. Let's just think it through a little bit. Rivers flow toward dams, and dams dam things up. And occasionally at the base of dams, they'll find all kind of stuff that washes downriver and it can move toward the dam as the river pushes on it. So this thing could have been dropped in the water somewhere else, or would have been used for something that wasn't nefarious. I'm just trying to keep an open mind here. And then it drifted down toward that particular structure. It doesn't seem to me like the way they described it, that it would be big enough to actually breach the dam. But again, I don't know the integrity of the dam, the age of the dam, or any of that dam stuff. So, so an alarming story. The quote from down there, I think it was from the sheriff. Let me get down through here. It was actually the water system director. He goes, "This is an unprecedented threat." He called it a threat. He said, "We're fortunate this device was discovered before it could cause serious damage to our water supply or harm individuals. They're grateful for the professionalism and competency of the law enforcement partners, as well as the quick thinking of contractors, divers, and others, that this device was found and safely destroyed." And then it doesn't give a whole lot more information. Homeland Security was notified about the incident, and they're going to continue to work with law enforcement agencies to find out what happened. So on the worst end of this, it was an intentional act to blow up Mobile's water source and to drop the water source of a city, whereas you wouldn't have had immediate loss of life. That's the kind of infrastructure attack stuff that we've talked about since 9/11. One of my favorite stories of all time was, I think it was Channel 13 sent after 9/11, when we were so hyper-focused on anything that could happen next. There were anthrax attacks. Everybody was a little jumpy. I was not in the news business at the time. But they sent somebody over to a sewer treatment plant to show how easy it would be to break in. And I think they were reporting it as a water plant where we get our water, but it's on the other end of the water. So they look kind of foolish with that story, because there was no threat to the water supply on the south end of the pipe, but it is a vulnerability at times. And so I would think, depending on what evidence they have or what they gather about this, now if they had to detonate the thing, it's going to be that much more difficult probably to trace the source. The FBI bomb techs are the best in the world, and they can examine the components of it. If they were able to explode it in sort of one of those containment portable trailers, they will be able to pick that thing apart and figure out how it was built, perhaps even who built it, but that will take a lot of time. So then my question becomes, and call me paranoid, slightly, it's paranoia week anyway. Should we be inspecting all the dams around Alabama at least, or in that region, down in that part of Alabama? Clearly, if this was nefarious, the guy at the waterworks called it a threat. You think this is the only time they did it? Is this the only target, having failed to make it work this time? There's bigger than the device itself. There's a person out there that would put this together. Now let's talk about the fact that they called it an IED. That's not at first I thought they found a grenade. And I was trying to be a little dismissive of the story, and I thought, well, if it's just a grenade, people have those, believe it or not. They're around. They're World War II relics. These things are, some people used to fish with dynamite and stuff like that. I mean, you could see how something like that could be in the water. I don't know how buoyant they are, if they would float or can move under the pressure of the river, but could get pushed up against the dam, and that's naturally, the dam's like a big filter. It's where you're going to find stuff. But if this was an IED, that's a whole nother story too. That means, of course, we all know that stands for improvised explosive device. That means somebody built it to be a bomb. It's not just a dam. So I don't know what we're dealing with here. But the story, I think AL.com eventually had a piece on it. Let me see who wrote this. A guy named Patrick Darrington. I found that locally. I think some of the others picked up on it. The first report was late yesterday. And again, when I saw it, we live in a world, this was after the show, when the news started getting out last night. I just thought it was some hype. AJ, you know what I mean? You're looking online, and you now have to, if something seems sensational, like they found a bomb at the base of a dam in Alabama, the first thing you have to think is somebody probably made that up. And then you go, well, maybe they didn't make it up. And that's kind of where I was last night until today we get more confirmation on it. So could be a dangerous story, could be an ongoing story. We don't know. But again, thank goodness for that diver being alert. It is pitch black at the depths of the dam, especially when you get in some of these deeper dams like Smith. I've heard lots of reports of the divers and inspectors that have to go down and check on Smith and the things they've seen in that water. Difficult environment, cold environment, lack of visibility, but somehow they were sharp enough to catch this. Also, don't know anything about the size of the dam. There was an aerial shot that was included in one of the reports, and but I can't tell from the aerial if this, how big this thing is or how solid the structure was. But that's a big story. We'll keep on it today if there's any other developments or anything else that authorities develop. Since nobody got hurt, I got a feeling this thing will kind of fade a little bit, and then we'll wind up getting a follow-up on it at some point if they connect it to a group or an individual that meant harm down in Mobile. But there it is, 545-9950. If y'all got any expertise or want to talk about any of that stuff today. Pretty slow news day, other than Trump being overseas, which is dominating a lot of the headlines. You would expect that, and we knew that was going to happen this week. Nothing new in the map wars. All that seems to be settled for today while some things are getting worked out. But there was a Supreme Court ruling about the trucking industry, and I think what I want to do is get the break in here, and then we'll get the details of that in a minute. That could affect a lot. We have a lot of people involved in that industry in the audience, people that drive trucks, work for those companies, and of course, we all survive based on what these truckers are able to do. This thing, I think, is ultimately going to be a good ruling for American truck drivers, for these guys that have been getting railroaded by trucking companies that were hiring these illegals. And I'll get into that in a minute. It's going to take longer to describe than I have here in this segment. All right, let's get this thing going on a Thursday. We'll keep up with any breaking news that happens. You never know. 545-9950 against the phone number to lead and live. Talk 995. We'll be back here in just a second. Hey, Jay, I guess we're going to have to listen to that whole song one day just to figure out what the ACI is. Maybe some of y'all know, but we didn't know yesterday. Still got to get a groove to it. I like it. Good stuff. Man, okay, let's start with Lonnie's Furniture Company today. Always a good time to go furniture shopping. It really is. Even sometimes your house can just grow stale and you want to improve it. You just don't even know where to start. You can walk around there and get inspired. You can get ideas. They've already beautifully grouped things because this is what they do that seem to go together. You may have a different idea. You may see some end tables over here that you'd rather have with the couch over there. But when you've got an acre of furniture under one roof, you got plenty of selection and they'll give you plenty of time. There is no, I hate stores that a salesperson hits you at the door and follows you around. They just don't do that. They'll chill back. You can walk that store for days if you want to until you find something or have a question, and then they're on it. And when they get on it, they've got trained experts. Like Arlene has got degrees in this stuff. This woman's worked in some of the finest houses in the country. She was very, very helpful for me. And y'all just go get with them and let them go through all the samples and all the ideas. You can build your own furniture. If you don't see exactly what you want and you're willing to wait for it, man, they'll order it for you. And over in the Bassett area, they've got Reggie called it a Build-A-Bear one time. And it's kind of like that. You can, through their computer system and the floor samples, put pieces together that fit you exactly. The leather, the fabric, the arms, the feet, the nail heads or not. You want 3 cushions on the couch or 2. You can completely design your own furniture, have it ordered and brought here to Alabama. They'll bring it all the way to your house. It's really that kind of service. It's the service, it's selection, it's the price, it's the people, it's everything. The parking, the ease to load up if you want to bring your own stuff home. It's Lonnie's Furniture Company, a superstore in a little town called Kimberly, Alabama. Sometimes you got to drive to get deals like this. Lonnie'sFurnitureCompany.com. Okay, the other good thing about as we approach the weekend is we're just days away from not having to listen to some of the stupidest political ads I think I've ever heard in my life. They're just so mediocre and generic. It's mind-numbing. And some of them are just they're so tiresome. We always get this way. We get a fatigue. I don't even check my own mailbox anymore, so I have no idea what's been coming in the mail. I just let Jessica sort that stuff out, and she lets me have whatever I need to look at, which is usually 99% junk. So it doesn't bother me with the mailbox like it used to. But man, these ads are getting ridiculous. Here's the thing, though, and I was talking to someone last night that had some inside poop on a lot of things. And I was made privy to some more polling data that doesn't call any winners or losers in some of the bigger races, but there's a number that is popping out to people that are professionals in this business and people that sort of do this all the time and have seen a lot. And that is a huge undecided number in all these major races. So let's talk about that for a minute, and then I'll go on to the trucker ruling that I just teased you about. We have a massive, in the attorney general's race, for example, nonstop ads, shots back and forth. There's new stuff up today with the 2 candidates, and there's almost a 50% undecided. I saw a poll that showed that a week or 2 ago, and I thought that'll settle down. It hasn't. People just haven't dug into the race, and we don't have a hot governor's race. We don't have any heat on that. There are 2 things that generally get people out to the polls. It's when there's a presidential and when there's a governor's race. And when it comes for Republicans, the last 3 presidential years, it's when Trump's on the ballot. And so, because there's also not a sense here, outside all the redistricting fights and all that stuff, the balance of power in the Senate doesn't seem to swing on the particular districts that we're voting in right now or likely to vote in even in August. So that's not a big motivator. And some of it I do think is the lackluster campaign ads and stuff that just don't have. Even the Senate race, and I talked to Jared Hudson about this when he was in here, earlier this week. Even in the Senate race, they haven't really gone after each other that much, and that has not drawn the kind of attention, which is, I guess, relieving. You got some sharp candidates running for it, and it's starting to settle down now, and the undecided has tightened up quite a bit in that race. So the bottom line of that whole little journey that I just took is I think we're going to have a massively low turnout election. I don't skip elections. I think maybe I've missed one through happenstance in my adult lifetime, but I'll go vote. And I definitely have ideas about what I want to do, and we'll talk about my ballot on Monday, and maybe have a couple more candidates in on Monday before we're all done with the election. So get out there and vote unless you haven't been paying attention. And if that's the case, just stay home because we don't need you, man. We got this. I always tell people that. We have this false sense of honor. Sometimes we say it's important that all of you vote. And I tend to always think, now some of y'all are kind of stupid. And I just seen you go do whatever you normally do all day. And those of us that have been paying attention, we got this. All right, so there's that. The Supreme Court ruling. I'll try to summarize this as quickly as I can. It's fascinating. Today, the Supreme Court ruled that freight brokers, and they're the ones that kind of, with all the money nowadays in the trucking business, but these brokers that hire out the trucking companies and put the deals together are no longer shielded by federal liability shields against state laws for being sued for the trucking companies they put to work having bad, unsafe drivers. Let me see if I can put that a better way. In the real world, when these trucking companies hire people from Pakistan that can't read English and got a fake driver's license and don't even check them out and put them behind the wheel of a massive truck, thus cutting out an American's opportunity to be a truck driver. And if something happens and there are suits or liability at play, the broker coordinated with that can't be protected by the federal government anymore. So what will that do? Immediately, I'm looking to others that are experts in the industry. First take was, well, that will help raise the quality of trucking companies on both ends now have to pay attention to who they're hiring because, one, they don't need the lawsuits and the liability anyway. The government's finally starting to crack down on these fake driver's licenses, and now their brokers aren't going to give them business and book them for runs if they can't have some accountability for their truckers. Everybody can't turn a blind eye to it. The Democrats were trying to put illegal people to work in this country any way they could to get them settled here, and that became dangerous. And we've had how many incidents we have to describe to you on our roads. And the truckers that are out there listening to me know this story better than me. They know what's going on all around them. And this may be a good thing. Now, it's also a bonanza for trial lawyers because do you see these billboard lawyers always trying to sue you for being in an accident? They want to go after the big companies. They're kind of parasitic that way. In some cases, they do good work, but that's a boon for them too. Now they've got another financial target with their lawsuits. But that's a pretty big ruling, I think, that ultimately affects the way our goods get to us and get to the stores. We'll keep an eye on any other reaction to that ruling today as well. 545-9950 if you want to get in on the show. Let's go. Lead on live. Talk 995. Y'all hang on. Man, Alabama Gold Refinery, longtime sponsor here on the show. Great place for you to pop in if you're trying to just get a handle on getting into gold investing, holding it, buying it, selling it, trading it. It's nice to have an exchange because sometimes if you're in a gold position, maybe things are happening in your own life where you need the cash instead. It's a good place to go unload some gold at fair value. They track the markets every day, Steve and his team, and they'll give you fine casholas right there on the palm of your hand. Or, of course, you can take your cash in there and start collecting in any form. You can even take your gold in there and trade it for other things. They'll do gold for gold, gold for silver, whatever, value for value. It's a safe place, a convenient place, a smart place. You'll just be treated like you got intelligence when you walk in there and start talking to Steve. He's so good with this stuff. And centrally located in Homewood. I always tell you about the location because it's easy to find. You park right there in front of the door across from the tall Regions Bank building in Homewood. It is Alabama Gold Refinery, AGR, AlabamaGoldRefinery.com. All right, I can bounce around to a bunch of stuff. Since we're just talking about gold, let me talk about the economy, and then we'll back ourselves into the weather, and I got some other things. Right now, the Dow, I'm watching it because it was bumping on a record. I don't know if we're going to see a record close today, but we're about $50 off that. And at some point today, it had gotten up to 5,000, almost 50,200, which would exceeded its high. They mark these things at the close, not just where it stops for the moment. A lot of that on optimism. I think some of these deals that are being announced, massive trade deals, some of it having to do with tech and chips. And man, it's just so much. I watched a long documentary this morning. First thing when I got up, I got fascinated with it and couldn't quit watching it about silicone, where the raw materials come from, who really dominates the chips, what happens with AI. And every time I think I understand it, there's something new. Now, here at home, we've got these political fights over the actual data centers themselves. So to give you some context, Trump's over there making business deals with Chairman Xi. They are going to allow NVIDIA chips to be used in some Chinese products and then sold back to us. A lot of folks worry the Chinese are going to steal the tech. They're going to steal the tech anyway. It's not like they couldn't just go to other parts of the world and purchase these chips and reverse engineer them. They do it with everything. But the deals are global. All of this is global. And at the end of it, we're trying to beat the Chinese to be first in AI control. AI is such an amalgam because it's hardware and it's software. It's mind control. It's robotics. Today I watched, was a test of a robot. I think it was working at like an Amazon sorting center, and it was a humanoid robot. It's hard to describe on the radio, but I'll give it a shot. So you see the torso, you see the arms and the hands and its sort of face, and packages are coming past it, and its job is to check the package that it's packed properly, flip the label over onto the conveyor belt and move it along the line. It's sort of an inspection robot. So they put it to a test and ran it 24 hours straight without it stopping, and it didn't make a single error. In other words, there's probably a human factor where humans are going to misread something or missort something. It's just part of all business, and it's all built in and factored in. This thing didn't take a break. It didn't sue anybody for sexual harassment. It didn't sexually harass anybody. It didn't get a cough. It didn't have to go pick its kid up at school. It just sorted the packages. And they're thinking they can push one of these right now up to 200 hours without an error, and then they'll, get the error rates. But again, it's robots doing some of this menial work, easily trainable work, and then it's how we use all this tech in our daily lives, and it all has to be powered. It all has to get a big power supply. That's going to affect our power rates, whether they are lying to us right now or not. And there's this arms race. All the utilities want in on it because they want the big giant customer. The big data centers are trying to find land and water and power supply to do it. Communities are rebelling all over the country. I said it the other day, these are the new landfills or prisons. And in the old days, if you were going to put a dump of any kind or a prison of any kind or anything that would affect a community outside of jobs. Now, there are parts of Alabama that lobbied hard to get their prisons. It's pretty good jobs, like over in Aliceville and places like that. And it hasn't posed a threat to the community. But there's an old crowd called the Nimyas, not in my backyard. That's the acronym, and they pop up for everything. Industrial complex, sometimes noise making industry, but we got to do it. And it's a dilemma for the country because if we don't, you can't build this infrastructure and process locally. Then you see all these sort of utopic ideas of putting these things out in the ocean or putting them up in space, putting them on the moon. I don't know where it goes, but all I know is right now, nobody wants to live near one. I saw a video the other night, and I wish I had saved it because it could have translated on the air, where there was this data center. I think they said it was 4 miles away. Now, granted, it was a quiet night, but this thing had a drone and a hum to it that would drive me mad if I lived anywhere near one of these things. It was such an ever-present noise. And I know when you live in big cities, my son was home from New York City last weekend, and one of their favorite things to do when they come to my house, because I'm just in a super quiet place, is just sit outside and listen to the quiet. It amazes them, because in a city like that, there's constant noise, constant buses and trucks and people and horns and sirens and life going past every single building in a city like that. But there's a cadence to it that you can tune out. This drone noise that came from that data center was hard to describe. It was like an alien spaceship just hovering out there somewhere in a field and constantly having that hum. So this is one of the new battles. These things are, again, there's a race to acquire land and to put these projects together. We're having a huge fight over one here in Birmingham. There'll be others. The city of Hoover the other day, for example, just tightened up its restrictions on any centers like this being built. Some communities are being proactive and going ahead and almost regulating them out before they can get there. Because the truth is, there are tons of jobs involved in the construction of them and the assembly of them. And I'm sure there'll be some ongoing maintenance in terms of every time technology changes, they're going to have to retrofit or re-outfit the whole facility. But after those jobs are done, not a whole lot of people are working in these places. I guess they're riding around on golf carts in between racks of computer servers and maintaining things. And so then you get the hit to the power supply, you get the water requirements that these things have to remain cool. And all of that is in light of the president over there cutting these deals with China. So we're either going to partner with them and the whole world gets AI, or we're going to compete with them and some country will dominate and have total control of almost everything. It's a godlike technology. And I don't mean that in a sacrilegious way. What I mean is it's going to be so ever present and all controlling about things in our daily lives that whoever programs it has control of it. And whoever gets there first will have probably dominance for a long time. Now, that wasn't true of the chip industry at first. It was invented on the East Coast of America, the chip really. Bell Technologies invented the first chip. Then California became known as Silicon Valley because eventually the tech companies there started perfecting it. And eventually Taiwan stole the whole gig. And but we're in that race right now, and it will dictate our economy, our lives. I mean, thought control. It's hard to put it all in words, and I still struggle to do it, even though it's my job is to study this stuff and try to break it down into English. There was a concept that was floated the other day that I'm still struggling with. I've been riding around thinking about it. When I'm doing stuff, I think about, what does he mean by that? And I think it was Elon Musk saying that we're just 2 or 3 years, maybe 3 to 5 years was the estimate, away from, see if y'all can understand this, not having apps on our phones at all. That the devices we carry around and whatever we subscribe to will be all serving. In other words, let me see if I can put it into English. Right now, if you want to go to your bank, you pull up your bank's app and you click on your bank's app and you log into your bank and you check your stuff. Or if you want to go to Netflix app, you can go to that app. If you have other apps that you use for things, security cameras at your house, you go find your camera app, check your house. We've all become conditioned and accustomed to almost having these things at our reach and at our touch at any time. The new concept is the whole device will know you so well. AJ, tell me if this creeps you out, that you wake up in the morning, it's like it's your own personal device assistant. It knows when you got up, what you want to look at as far as what you want to read, when you want to check your bank. it will suggest things to you hadn't even thought of yet. And it's like a second brain. You don't have to ask it to do things for you. It already knows. It already knows that at 7:30 you usually do this, and it knows your routine and anticipates your needs and puts them in your face before you know it. Now, we're already creeped out by that already. You'll be thinking about something, suddenly you get an ad for it. You're like, how'd that happen? I didn't even say that out loud. Is this thing listening to me? We're going to live in a 100% surveillance state, and we're going to agree to it. Man, I just got off on a rant. We're going to agree. All those little agreements, all those little things at the bottom that nobody reads, eventually we'll become so, conditioned or even numb or less guarded to this nonstop constant tech all around us all the time, which we kind of are now. But I think a lot of us are still aware of it enough to feel a little creeped out by it. But every day you wake up, your little AI devices will be serving you in everything you want to do all the time. You never have to take extra steps. And then at one point, what I ask is, so when do we just quit thinking? Why would anybody need to go to school? Why do you need to have knowledge? The quest for knowledge, the thirst to learn has always been part of the human heart and the human experience. What happens to people when you ruin that? There's a graph out today, and I know this seems kind of long-winded, but to me, all this connects. There's a graph out today about teenagers have almost quit drinking alcohol. Follow this logic and see if it makes sense to you. That would seem to be a good thing, right? I mean, especially if you're raising teenagers, you're like, wow, don't have to worry about that one. And the alcohol use has fallen off really since the 90s. Kids every year drink less and less and are using less and less weed, believe it or not. And then it falls down to almost zero. But then I was reading a psychologist or some scientist of some note that studies these sociology trends. And they pointed out that's actually an alarming sign of other things. And I went, okay, tell me more. Well, let me geek out some more on you. They're saying that that's a sign that kids have now become less like the way we grew up, where there were risks. And when you became a teenager, you did dumb things. And it's how you learn. You drove the car too fast. You drank too much. You made some bad decisions. Some kids, cross other lines with sex and other things that are the challenges of an age where you don't really have judgment yet. But it's part of the formative years of growing up and becoming an adult. Well, these kids are choosing not to do any of that. Their parents have them walled off with all this tech, and that's where it folds into this AI subject and these computer chips and everything that Trump's over there talking about now. This world that's coming, the kids are already so walled off and controlled and tracked, and the parents know everything that's going on with them. And they're less interested in those things in the world that we were, the natural things, the opposite sex, and those things that they're just tunnel vision into their technology all the time, and they're kind of getting numbed out. So the other consequences, as the story went on this morning, is not only are they not drinking alcohol and doing some of the other things kids before them did, they're not getting married. They're not having kids. They're delaying life and are dialed in on their tech in such a zombie fashion that they're in their 30s before they can look around and understand that they've got to provide for themselves. It's why employers are now talking about how unemployable some of these kids are. They don't have a work ethic. They don't have humility. There's an arrogance that comes with their ignorance, which is lack of experience because they were never exposed. They never had life punch them in the face before they were 30 years old. All they've known is the little screen in their face and whining all the time. And that is so dangerous. These kids are going to be running the show, man. I'm about to take it to Shady Pines and be done with all this stuff in the years to come. And my generation's we've had our turn. So who's going to run it? AI? Are they going to be completely in control of all society because you've got these, what do the kids call them, non-player characters that they've all become in their own lives, just going through life, not having to need to do anything because the AI and the tech's right there to do everything for them and to keep them from experiencing life. And in this case, if you read the story far enough, love and the things that made us human, we are just becoming more robotic. We're becoming symbiotic with the technology. I just described the robot that can process the Amazon packages. The robots are starting to look like us, and we're starting to look like them. Man, I got grandkids. I worry about them. I'm going to go live on a mountain somewhere. AJ, I've been threatening to go Amish for years. Maybe time now.
Well, I'm starting to see Amish use some type of technology now too. So
no,
you know
what?
It's bad.
What are they doing?
So like when you go to some of those stores, and mainly is what I see, like obviously social media, but the card readers, like they'll as you tap and pay, because I mean, like, how else you don't get your money, because you don't really have cash, and then of course you got cash registers and stuff like that. Yep. So technology is slowly integrating itself even with the Amish. Or Mennonites, one of the two.
That's the end of the world. If that's the end of the world, let's just go ahead and call it. It's when those guys give it up, man. It's like, hey, look, Joseph, zipper. I'm using zippers now. Sinner. Yikes, man! I'm telling you, dude. All this stuff, and the thing is, it boils back. We're sitting here watching our president, this president of this other country, and everything they're negotiating, fighting over, competing over is a future that it's either going to be remarkable, where diseases are cured that were considered incurable. And we've been in places like this before where we got all hyped up about the .com bubble and some of these other tech bubbles that didn't prove to be what we thought they were. They turned out to be something else. But what happens to the humans, man? Are we going to just give up being human, or will we seek that out? Will we get sick of going to, my buddy Gary was just texting me something about Chick-fil-A using robots, like going to get a sandwich because we still got to eat, and there's just nobody there. It's machines running the thing, and the thing spits out your little sandwich. You don't get that my pleasure. Little things in life.
And the order's still wrong.
And the order's still wrong. I got a fish sandwich. Who are you going to fuss at? What are the Karens going to do when they don't have a manager to speak to? The manager's just another damn robot. Let me speak to your
computer.
It's a weird, dude. It's weird, and we're drifting right into it. Like not even putting up a fight, out of convenience and out of fascination, and maybe out of efficiency. The other thing was, I was talking to one of my sons about this weekend too, and I know I got to get the break in here, but it was an MIT study a couple of weeks ago, and I think I mentioned this on the air, but it was about this doom loop. It was just about economics, not the technology or where it's going or what all it's capable of doing. But it was about the economics of when you make things so efficient that there are no more labor jobs, there are no more paychecks. If there are no more jobs required because the tech can do it all, then you got a whole bunch of people with no paychecks. Then what? There go your customers. Every business knows that. You got to have paychecks to run a business. I'll give you another story about that a little bit later. I'll tell you a concrete story about how industrialists think about those matters, and it's complete opposite of what the socialists are telling you right now. And we'll get into that in a minute. Storm Restoration Roofing. Let's talk about your roof. I tell you what, there'll be a day when they try to replace Greg Nelson. Can you see a robot up there putting your roof on? Look, Greg knows this stuff. He's been doing it for almost 30 years. I'm rounding him off a little bit. He doesn't want to be that old, but when he came on the show, it was over 25 years. So I think we're about 27, 28 years in the business. Greg has 10 kids, 10, and most of them are in the business. He's teaching them to work hard. He's teaching them what the family business is about. They want to be there. They love their dad. And some of his daughters are helping with the adjustments and the claims. Some of his sons are up there on the ladders. That's family. That's what built this country. And Greg's going to do a good job for you. If you need a replacement, just get on it in a controlled environment. Don't wait for it to fail on you. If you wind up in a storm, which is possible, I think we've got some rougher weather coming toward the end of the month in the long range forecast. Just keep that in mind. But keep Greg's number handy, because you never know when you're going to need your roofer. And a lot of folks need them fast. And Greg can get you dried in and then taken care of and get your claim filed and make sure everything's correct so that you do get covered. You know, a shoddy roofer's not going to do that for you. Some of them will take half your money and disappear. Some of them aren't going to do the job right. You need somebody you can trust. That's Greg Nelson, Storm Restoration Roofing, 205-542-3531, 205-542-3531. Storm Restoration. Man, I tell you what, let me just wrap up some thoughts. I'll get Tom in here real quick and we'll do the top. So I remember a guy named Mr. Skinner. He owned a chain of furniture stores near where I grew up, sort of a regional chain. And he had one of those stores was next door to our little family radio station when I was growing up. And I remember talking to him one day. He lived to be in his 90s. I said, how did you grow your business like this? And I was just absorbing everything he had to say. I was in my 20s. He goes, I'd drive to a town and I'd look for smokestacks. And if I saw smokestacks, that meant paychecks because people can't buy no furniture without paychecks. And I thought of him when I was looking at this MIT study, where are the paychecks going to come from? You have to have core industry for a town to build itself around. It's what screwed us over when we sold out our businesses during NAFTA and CAFTA, and it's the stuff Trump's trying to repatriate, us building things again. If you got a core factory, then you got a furniture store, and you got a bank, and you got a dry cleaner, and you got a grocery store, because those paychecks are what serve all those other businesses, and it moves money around in a local economy. And nowadays, corporate America has sucked all that up. Manufacturing has gone overseas. The Democrats tried to import the rest of the labor from other world countries and bring them in here by the millions to take the few jobs that Americans with low skills could still do. And we're still trying to struggle against that. And then here comes AI in the middle of all that. Here comes something that's so efficient that I don't know what low skilled people will do for a living. So where are those paychecks? How are we going to buy things? So what are the, it's a cycle. And if we get ahead of ourselves and it goes too quickly, because there's always this emphasis to be first. We just talked about the race for AI and tech. There's all this emphasis to get there first, to be the most efficient, to beat out your competition. Then what? The MIT study showed if you go too fast and there's no assimilation of the workforce, you crash the whole economy in different ways. Then there's Elon Musk who says, well, everything will be free. The machines will make it for us. Everybody will have free stuff. I don't know. Isn't that crazy? All right. I see Tom over there. Tom, I'll get to you. More of your calls to 545-9950 Leland Live.